Apple's new liquid glass UI design has been a controversial new trend in the UI space. It looks like it's here to stay, and they might even be taking the design style into their future projects. So let's learn how to make it in After Effects. We'll specifically look at how to merge the glass effect with that liquidy style they've created, and towards the end of the video I'll give you a bonus tip. And also just a quick note to say these project files will be available on our website, so head over there if you want to check that out. So coming into After Effects here, we're just going to start off with our UI animation, which is just going to be a couple of shapes that are going to liquefy into each other. So we'll start with getting the shape tool, and we'll just draw a rectangle. And make sure that's centered. And I'll just go into the path and change the size to 500 by 150. And add some roundness. And I'll make it white. Okay, and I'm going to call that rectangle. Next, I'll do the exact same, click off, and I'll just draw another one, holding shift this time. I'm going to draw a square and center that up. And this time I'm going to make this 150 by 150. And I'll turn the roundness all the way up so that it becomes a circle. Okay, we'll call this circle, and I'm going to turn that off for now. Next, I'm going to come forward to about 2 seconds in, where I'll set a keyframe on the size, and I'm just going to come back about 30 odd frames and just increase that up and out. And then I'm going to come all the way back to the beginning and just change the y-axis to 0. And I'll ease those keyframes. And in the graph editor, I'll just edit these and drag them over like that as far as they can go. And same that way. Okay, next from here, I'm going to take the size of the rectangle path and keyframe it. I'm just going to drag that a wee bit over here. And here I'm just going to constrain the proportions and set this to 0 and bring that keyframe back a bit. And here I'm going to turn it up to about 200. And I'm also just going to turn that back on so we can see it. And similar, I'm going to drag these over like this. See how that looks. Okay, now on the part where it comes down like this, I'm going to take the position of the circle and the position of the rectangle. I've got these separated at the moment by just checking separate dimensions on that on the position. I'm going to keyframe the X position on both of them, jump forward by about 30 frames, and we'll shift this over to this side and this over to this side. And let's bring them in so it's a bit closer. The rectangle shouldn't move as much. And then I'll come in here, I'll ease those keyframes, and I'll just drag that in like that, and that like that. Okay, let's see what we got. Okay, almost perfect. I'm just gonna press U on the keyboard for both of these, and then align the keyframes up. And then on the keyframes on the X position, I'm just going to use a plugin called Ease Copy. This is free to get, I'll link it in the description. So I'll highlight that, copy, highlight that, ease. There you go. And now that should match. That's a bit better. Let's just drag these keyframes all the way out, so this should be nice and slow. Okay, that is looking good. Next, we're going to add an effect to make this look all liquidy, as Apple have been doing recently. So we're going to add a new adjustment layer by going Layer, New Adjustment Layer, and we'll call this Liquid Effect. And we're going to add a Gaussian blur, and we'll set that to about 50, and we'll uncheck Repeat Edge Pixels. And then we're going to add a simple choker, and we'll set this to -50. And if you look at this now, that's got that nice liquidy effect on it as if they're merging into each other. So I'm just going to adjust the animation slightly so that we are just outside of it at the end of the animation. And that'll look something like this. I'm just going to adjust the keyframe slightly to get a slightly more crisper animation. Okay, I'm happy with that. Let's now turn it into glass. So we're going to pre-compose that, and we'll call that UI animation. So now we've got it in its own composition there, and we're going to add the CC glass effect to this one. So I'm going to add in this picture here, which is just going to be a placeholder so that we can see what's happening to the background once we add this glass effect. So I'll put that on the bottom, and I'm just going to make it a guide layer so that it doesn't show up in renders. Yeah, and then I'm going to come to around about here on the timeline, just where I can see it, and I'm going to create a new adjustment layer, and we're going to call this glass 1, and we're going to add CC glass. Now this has affected the whole image, so it's affecting the image at the back as well, so we need to make sure that the surface is set to the UI animation and not the glass layer. So we'll go surface, bump map, and instead of this being the glass layer, we're going to select the UI animation. So now the adjustment layer is only looking at the UI animation and adding glass to that area. For the softness, we're going to bring this down to somewhere around about, let's go with 5. And we'll bring the height down slightly as well. Probably to somewhere about, we'll go with 20. And displacement's going to go all the way up. We'll go with 400 on that. When you add CC glass, it slightly brings down the exposure of the layers below it. So we're just going to go into light, and we'll change the light intensity to 110. Next, we're going to add another adjustment layer by one layer, new adjustment layer, and we're going to call this blur. And we're going to turn off the UI animation, and we're going to add a fast box blur. And we'll set this to about 5, and you'll see that's affected the whole screen, so we need to make this an alpha of the UI animation. So we'll grab our track mat and pick whip it to the UI animation. And now it's only affecting this area. Okay, I'm going to turn that off for now, because that's something we might come back to stylize it a bit later down the line. For now, we're going to add another adjustment layer. So layer, new adjustment layer. We'll call this CC glass 2. Add another CC glass to that. And same again, make sure the surface is set to the UI animation. And this time we're going to have it a bit softer, so we'll set it to about 25. The height we're going to bring down probably to about 7, yep. And displacement all the way up, we'll put that to 500. And same again with the light intensity, we're going to bring that up a little bit. This time we'll go for 105. And now we can start playing with the light direction on both of them. And if you look at that, that is adjusting where the specular hits the glass. So on this one, I'll go for maybe around 115. And we'll go back to the first one and just adjust that to see where that's hitting. And I'll go fairly similar, maybe 102. So now the light's shining on it from the bottom. And we can see the displacement by putting that all the way up. It's starting to distort the image around the edges, which is great for the effect we're after. So I'm going to add one more adjustment layer. And I'm going to call this color grade. And I'm going to add a curves to this, and I'm just going to add a bit of contrast by dragging the highlights up there and the shadows down there, just a little bit. And similar to the blur before, I'm just going to make that an alpha with the UI animation, so that's only affecting this area, which you can see by me turning it off there. I'm also going to add a slight tint to this, and we'll put it to 20% there, and I'm also going to make this have a touch of blue, so it just looks a little bit colder. And I'll add a levels as well, and I'll just bring the gamma up a little bit this way. And that creates a bit of distinction between the two. And I've just realized my resolution was set to half, so I'm going to put that back up to full so you can see what that actually looks like. And I'm going to play it back now so you can see how it looks. Okay, so that's working well. That's starting to look like glass, it's distorting it nicely, and there's a clear difference between the glass and the image in the back. And to turn the blur back on, this is what it starts to look like. And we can style this even further. We could double click the square up here and create a shape like this. We'll fill it with white as it was before, and we'll call this white fill. And I'm going to put that under the first glass, and I'm going to make a track matte of the animation. And from here, I can turn the opacity down to about 10. And that starts to create this sort of white fill within it. And if I just turn this back up to 50 for now, we can take this a slight step further by duplicating the UI animation here. And I'll bring it just up to the top and turning it on. And I'm going to add a Gaussian blur to that. I'll turn off repeat edge pixel, and I'll just turn that up like that. I'm also going to make this a track matte of the UI animation. And if I solo it, you can see here that we start creating a slightly softer edge. And on top of this, if I just add a simple choker and just increase it slightly, and then I'll add another Gaussian blur, turn off repeat edge pixel, and bring the Gaussian blur up, you start to get a good soft edge. I'll set it to 70. And then I'm just going to duplicate simple choker and put it underneath this. Bring that in a little further. And duplicate the Gaussian blur again and put it underneath. And there we go, we've got a nice soft edge. So this layer will act as more of a Fresnel type of effect. So we'll turn that off, and we'll just turn that off too. And we'll take our white fill here, and instead of it being a track matte to the original UI animation, we're going to add it to this new one here. And that creates a bit of a softer tone where the edges are just a little bit softer than before, and that can help you create a nice little Fresnel effect. I'll maybe just turn the choker down slightly there. And I can even then change the color if I wanted to and start to make this more of a red tone, maybe more of a blue tone, or even a yellow, depending on what sort of style you want to go for. But anyway, we're going to change that back to white for now. I'm going to turn it down to maybe 30. And for now, I'm just going to turn it off. And I'm just going to rename this to UI Animation Fresnel Matte. Okay, next we're just going to select all those layers except for the background, and we're going to pre-compose that, and we're going to call that Glass Build. And now we're going to need to collapse transformation so that we can still see it. So hit this button here to make sure it comes up. And if you can't find that, just hit toggle switches / modes down here, and you can press that button. And I'm also just going to go back in and turn off the blur for now. And go back here. And I'm just wanting to sharpen up the areas where the glass is present. So we're going to add another new adjustment layer. And we're going to call this Sharpen. And we'll add an unsharp mask. And we'll set this to 100. And then I'll duplicate it. And I'll just, on the second one, bring the radius down to 0.5. Okay, and that's currently affecting the whole image, so we need to just make sure that's only affecting the glass build. But if you make it a track matte of the glass build, it doesn't actually affect it because we've got that collapse transformation set. So we need to take our UI animation composition again and just drop that back in. And we're just going to set the track matte to the UI animation instead of the glass build, which I'll turn back on. We've got our sharpen with the track matte set to alpha with the original UI animation, and that just affects anything that's inside of the glass. So I'll turn it on and off, and you can see a bit of a difference with the sharpening there. Okay, and now we will add another new adjustment layer, and we'll add a curves to this. We'll name it Color Grade 2. And I'm just going to slightly play with the contrast here again, but I'm going to do the same on the red, green, and blue channels as well, just really subtly. But on the blue, I'm going to do the opposite, so the darks are going to come up and the lights are going to come down slightly. And that's the difference you can see across the whole image. I'm just going to make it a track matte with the UI animation now, so it only affects within that image there. And I think it's a little bit too strong, so I'm just going to turn the opacity down to about 30. And that should just be a slight subtle change. Maybe we'll go 50, maybe 60. Yeah, that's better. Now, the good thing about this is that the original animation is completely procedural. So I actually think it's all just a little bit too small from what I'm wanting it to look like. So I'm just going to come into my original UI animation, and I'm going to create a new null object. I'm just going to call this scale null. And I'm just going to attach them both to here. Have a look at it at this point. I'm just going to scale it up a bit. And then I'm just going to delete it. And then that's brought everything up, so it's a bit bigger. And because it's procedural, this will automatically update in our glass composition as well. So if I go back here, you can see that automatically updates. We're just going to make a new solid by pressing Command Y, and we'll make that fill the screen. So now it's a little bit difficult to see what the distortion is actually doing, so I'm just going to add in this little grid and scale it down. And I'm just going to pre-compose those together and just call it background. Now this is looking good. I've got some subtle displacement happening around the edges here, which is great, but I want it to be a bit more obvious that the glass is affecting the background. So I'm going to create a layer, new adjustment layer, and we'll call this background distortion. And the first thing we'll do is we'll add a transform effect, and we'll just scale up by about 105. And now we need to make sure that this is track matted to the UI animation again. So we're keeping the original UI animation there, and that's just for reference for the track mats, so we're using that again. If I really push this to the extreme, you'll see what that's doing by increasing the scale and the transform. If I increase it too far down, it starts to get a bit obvious that it's messed up, so we're going to go with about 105, maybe actually 109, a bit more. Next, we're just going to add a CC lens, but we're going to keep this quite subtle. So if I just take it off of the track mat for now, just to see what it's doing, it's rolling it all up into a ball and distorting the edges like this. And I still want this to just get to the edges for now, so I'm just going to turn the size up. So this is just for a general bit of distortion in there. So we'll turn it up to 100, just to cover the whole thing, and then we'll make it a track mat of the animation again. And now that's a slight difference, but that adds a wee bit of subtleness to the distortion. Okay, we're actually going to turn up the CC lens to more like 170, so that it's much more subtle. It should be slightly distorting it, but not as much as it was there. Here it is with and without. We're going to add some buttons onto this. So we're going to add a new composition. So new composition, we'll make it go with 400 by 400. Make sure it's 7 seconds and hit OK. And we're gonna call it button 1. And for this one, I'm just gonna turn the background off, and we're gonna use an Apple logo. So I've got this image of it, and I'll just scale it way down here, and I want it to fill the space as best as possible, like so. And then we'll come into our most up-to-date composition there, and we'll bring in that button 1 here. And I'm just gonna position it in line with this button here. And then you might notice one clear issue with this. So it's just sitting there at the moment and it is not following the shape. So we need to make sure it follows the shape. So from here, we're just gonna increase the size of this, and we're gonna get our original UI animation, and we're gonna drag the timeline down until we see that signal here, and click on it there. And then in our up-to-date composition, we're just going to find the position. And in this composition, we're just going to press P for position. And we need to make sure that the X position here is in line with the X position here. So we're just going to put an expression on that there, and we'll pick up that and drag it down onto the other composition's position, like so, and click off of it. And then we'll just pull that back up here like that, and go back to our layer, and we'll see what that's done. So that's now following the X position of that shape, which is great. So we'll do the same again for some text on this bit as well. So composition, new composition, 400 by, this one will make it a bit longer, so we'll go 800 by 400, and we'll call this button 2. And I'll just remove the background, and I'll make a new text layer. And I'm going to use the Apple font for this, so we'll go with SF Pro, and we'll go regular. And in this layer, let's add that button 2 in. And I'll just align it with where I want it to go, which is about here. And we'll do the same again. We'll increase the size of this. We'll take our UI animation composition and drag it down like this. And now we can see both of them at once. And on button 2, we'll press position. And on the rectangle, we'll press position. We'll take the X position. We'll put an expression on that by holding Alt, click, and then take the pick whip and drag it down to the X position on the rectangle. Bring the UI animation back up and back over to our main composition, and let's see what that's done. Okay, that's working perfectly. So I just now want them to animate in as this bit's happening. So I'll find the point where I want the animation to start. So we'll start here. And on the Apple logo, I'm just gonna scale it up from here, go a couple of frames forward, maybe 10, add that keyframe there. Actually, I'll go 20 frames forward, move the keyframe there, and make this one 0. And I'll easy ease the second keyframe, and in the graph editor, I'm just going to drag that the whole way. So you have this. And And then in our liquid glass composition, we'll have that animating on. And let's do the same quickly with the text. So I'm just going to find in the timeline where I want that to start animating. And I probably want it about here. So I'll just click in there and I'll go into here and I'll animate position, bring it down slightly on the y-axis. And I'll go into advanced and we'll just change that to ramp up. And we'll set the offset to -100, add a new keyframe, and we'll jump forward 20 frames, make it 100. Ease low, we'll set that to 100, and we'll add properties opacity, and we'll make that 0 so that it starts not there. There we go, that animates on like that. So in here we've got this. Perfect. And I'm just going to increase the size slightly of that text. And as this is fully procedural, I can go into the first button. I'm just going to swap it out with a different logo. And I'll just animate it in the same way as the other one. Okay, so a bonus tip on this, if we were to change the background and we had a slightly darker background, so I'm going to use this image for now, which is a nice dark one, and come back here. Now it's quite hard to read this, so first of all we'll do the obvious thing and change the button color to white. It's still a little bit hard to read this, so I'm going to tweak some settings so that it's a bit easier to read. So we're going to take the original UI animation, I'm just going to bring it up here. And I'm going to duplicate it and just call this Edge Glow. And I'll turn it on. And now I'm going to add a simple choker. And we're going to decrease this to around about -60. And then we're going to add a fill effect and fill it in with white. And then I'm going to set that to track map with the original UI animation, but this time it's going to be inverted. So now we've got this effect, and we're then going to add a Gaussian blur, turn off repeat edge pixels, and I'm just going to make this 100. Now I'll set it to add, and I'll bring the opacity down to about 25. So before and after, and that helps the glass stand out a bit against a darker background. So now if I go into the original glass build, we can also add on that white fill again. Let's see what that's done. But instead of making it white, let's make it black this time. So I'll change the fill to black. And that makes it a bit easier to read the text. I can also come back into the glass build, and I can add that blur on, but instead of 5, let's just make it 2 for now. And you can see how that has made it a bit easier to read as well, and you can start to customize the style of this a little bit more. So if you even went into the glass build and went into the color grade, we could turn the amount to tint all the way up to 100 and just set it back to white. And then you get a different sort of effect here. I'm going to go back and I'm maybe going to set it to 50 instead. And I'm going to add one more adjustment layer, and I'm going to call this vignette. And I'm going to add a curves effect, and I'll just go into my ellipse tool and I'll double click that to make it mask, and I'll turn my curves down like that, set the mask to subtract, and feather it to about 400. And I'll bring the curves down just a little bit more. And that creates a nicer, darker tone to the whole thing. And that's a deep dive of how we do the liquid glass effect in After Effects. As I mentioned at the start, the project files will be available at natively.ornate.studio/shop, which I'll link in the description. There's also a bunch of freebies up there if you want to have a look around. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.